Okay, here we go. Hello. So Juan, today you will present us the uh, y- um, your speech you gave recently
Yeah,
about quiz on the new stuff in quiz since 1 year.
yes. Hello, everybody. A few weeks ago, we had the Fast Small Talks conference in Buenos Aires, not in Buenos Aires, in Mar del Plata, Argentina. And I gave a short presentation that I will repeat today for all of you. It will not be long, and most of the stuff will not be new for anybody, but anyway, it may be useful. Um, okay, I thought I saw, and then you wanted to speak, or someone else, or shall I?
No, no, no. It was a mistake. I just pressed
Okay,
one button.
okay. Let's see if I can share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Not yet. Oh yes, now.
Okay, this is the presentation I used. The name of the talk was Cuis-Smalltalk, Fulfilled Goals, Challenges for the Future. So, okay, let's get started. At the bottom of the screen, you can see the script I wrote for telling while I was showing the slides. Um, I don't think there is a real need to follow that strictly. So let's start. Here, I essentially say thank you and a few words about the hard situation of the public education system in Argentina this year. It's important, but not directly related to quiz. And in any case, I think that in not a long time, the recording of a presentation at Mar del Plata will be available, so we can do it a bit quicker here. Okay, what is quiz? You already know all this. Okay, it's an open source small talk system. You all know this. So, can we say something more about quiz, especially to distinguish quiz from other systems? And this is a phrase I choose. The purpose of the quiz project is to provide computer support for the creative spirit in everyone. Maybe this phrase is familiar to everyone, and if not, then please go and read again Design Principles Behind Smalltalk by Dunningas. Okay. So, what does it mean to support the creative spirit? Um, Well, the problem is that software is getting complex and more complex all the time. People no longer talk about a development tool or a development environment. They talk about the stack they use. And a stack means that there are a lot of technologies stacked on top of the other. So not only you need to know about one technology, but about a complete stack of them and how each one relates to the one above and below it on that stack. So, what can Smalltalk do to be different? Well, to bound complexity, essentially, to be no more complex than is used to be, unless needed, of course. And specifically, when compared with other Smalltalk systems, Quiz was created with its own set of priorities of objectives. So the distinct features of Cuis-Smalltalk are in these slides. Quiz was started because there were several areas where the Cuis-Smalltalk was in need of real improvement. Well, I have my speech there. The Morphic framework made advanced UIs possible, but very difficult to code. Additionally, around that time we stopped using CRTs, cathode ray tubes, and it started using flat panels for displays, and those make pixelation much more apparent, to the point where it's really annoying. So they create the need for good quality anti-aliasing that Quick didn't have at all at that time. And additionally, Quick had an early approach to support Unicode that essentially puts all the burden on the programmer like other systems do. I talked about this in 2022 at the Smalltalks conference, and I wrote that Unicode support for Cuis-Smalltalk paper that is in our documentation folder. You can take a look. And also the squeak image became bloated, confusing, and poorly organized. So these were the things that needed to be fixed in Squeak, and most of that, essentially all of that, we can say was completed in 2022. So we also have in Quiz, this is part of a presentation of Quiz for people who may not know too much about it. This stuff you already know. We have a nice set of additional code in the form of code package files that you can add to your quiz system to build applications or to develop whatever you need to do. And these are developed and maintained by various members of the community. You all know about this. The current state of Quiz is still leaving room for a lot of improvement. Okay, so there are things that many software developer would expect from a development environment, and many users of other Smalltalk systems, especially commercial Smalltalk systems, would expect from a Smalltalk system to use it to develop applications. And many of these things are not well done or not done well enough in Quiz, partly because of the direct inheritance from Smalltalk 80 and for never having focused too much on them. Okay, so some of the things that most people would expect to be released include building regular standard user interfaces with fields, text fields, buttons, lists, and that kind of stuff, building distributable applications, and these things, the current quiz system is not helping you as much as other way more primitive development environments like, I don't know, Visual Basic 30 years ago or something. So for the future of Quiz, for the next year or a couple of years, we are planning to attack these issues. We already started working on tools and frameworks needed for building end-user applications. We want to support developers of end-user applications, and our plan is to work for them. These are some of the things that have been done after that milestone in 2022, where the basic technology for the Smalltalk system was essentially done. And in these 2 years since then, these are some of the things that we did. We improved the folder structure and the code recovery tools. We improve on documenting the system. And in our process, we have a periodic stable releases. All these things are useful for developers um, and to make them more effective and to better handle their projects. In the kernel of the system, these are some of the things that have been done in this couple of years. In 2023, at the FAST conference, I presented the bootstrap of minimal images from source and the compiled libraries. During this year, Elliot Miranda has helped us support callbacks from external libraries called via SSI. Okay, someone is happy about that. Cool. This is all Elliot's work. I didn't do much there. And we worked on other things in the kernel image, process-specific variables, object properties, the unification of the previously two character classes, and some tweaks, low-level tweaks for performance and robustness of the image, handling the creation and termination of processes for debuggers, and the handling of memory for display and the vector graphics engine have been improved, especially when using the debugger. There were not memory leaks, but we would say that memory was not used carefully enough, and it was using way more memory than necessary. For instance, in Linux, if you resize the window, it would allocate a lot of memory on each event of you resizing the window, and that could, in some instances, crash a Linux system with very big screens. So, yeah, that kind of work to make the system more robust. On the user interface area, I recently added support for modal morphs and dialogue. That is, a modal morph is a morph that you need to open in the world and interact with it, and halt essentially the calling process until you get an answer. Okay, so modal in that sense, in the sense that if you open a morph from the UI process and you need that morph to be interactive, reactive to the user actions, and get an answer perhaps from the user, and only then continue with the calling method, you need either the way it was done before, that is with a horrible hack, or how it is done now, that is with a new user interface process that animates the UI until you accept or cancel your input. And then that answer you gave to the system is taken and given to the original process that can now resume execution. So it's a clean way to do modal morphs and dialogues. There have been many enhancements to morphic layout, essentially from input and request and discussions from you all, the community. And I did a new, better way for Windows and applications to specify menus and keyboard shortcuts. And that makes it much easier to modify and adapt the existing tools and to develop new ones. So, what's next? Okay, we want to make it easy to create pre-built user interfaces, regular style user interfaces with standard widgets. I want to have a curated, validated, dependable set of feature package. We have over 100 packages right now, and some of them are high quality and well maintained, and others are experimental or haven't been updated in a long time, are abandoned, and therefore are not so good to be used. And right now, anyone wanting to use them needs to do their own assessment of the quality of the packages, and that's something that we need to improve. We need to guide users on knowing which packages they can depend upon, and which other packages, if they are really interested in, maybe they could consider adopting them, or looking for the means to keep them current and high quality. Um, we need, I want a runtime for applications. That is a different structure of the system that doesn't include the standard VM image separation and image with development tools, but something more closer to the runtime of other dynamic um, systems that are separate from the development environment. In our case, it will be a minimal runtime image bootstrapped from scratch, and a set of libraries for your application. And we need ways to build standalone applications, to bundle that with the VMs in a standard and easy way for the developer, because there's no much interesting stuff to be done there. Uh, it's just repetitive work that doesn't add interesting knowledge. So it should be essentially automated. And the same for making bundles that are easy to install on different platforms or to deploy to servers. Okay, all that kind of stuff currently takes a lot of work, but it is clerical work. It's work that can be automated, and where it doesn't make much sense to spend a lot of time in. These are other things we want to improve on. Support for ephemerons. The Open Smalltalk VM has had support for ephemeron for quite some time, and in the near future, I hope we will have ephemeron support for quiz. We have an immutability package because the Open Smalltalk VM also supports immutability, so we should perhaps by default, the compiler could make all literals that are created when a method is compiled, all those could be immutable. Because if those objects are modified, they no longer reflect the source code, and that doesn't make much sense. So it's better and safer if those can be made immutable. We are, I believe that non-blocking, no, that's not there yet. We do have a callback from FFI, but we still don't have non-blocking threaded FFI calls. This is also work that is almost done at the VM level, and Elliot Miranda will help get us running in Quiz when the VMs are ready. This is most likely happening during next year too. The Open Smalltalk VM also supports a new alternative bytecode set that's called Sista. That is a standard bytecode set used by Squeak, for instance, and in Quiz we are still using the older one. And we could migrate Quiz to the Sista bytecode set. It won't make much difference for most people, but it is an enabler for future features that can be done on top of it, including dynamic reoptimization of code. That's a current research project that Elliot is interested in. So while we don't really need that right now, it is in the path of the future for the Open Smalltalk VM. There are a few tweaks that we need to do to the vector graphics engine, stuff that we know how to do, and essentially I didn't have time to focus on yet, and hopefully during next year it will be done. And there's always more stuff to get done with respect to Unicode. Unicode is a never-ending space of problems. Almost nobody supports all that Unicode promises, and our basic support for Unicode is quite good, but there are still things that we don't support and could be useful for many. For instance, right-to-left text for Arabic and Hebrew, and other exotic Unicode features um, like character substitution, ligatures. There are other features that are used by some scripts that are not the most used ones, but that are part of the standard and should be supported. We will, with respect to this, we will be, I believe, listening to what users need and give priorities according to that, because Unicode could be a real effort thing. There's a lot of stuff that could be done, and we need to be conscious of what we actually need, and so we can spend our available energy wisely. And essentially, that is in this last slide. I sort of give a quick review of the things I said. So this is the presentation I gave at the conference. It starts by telling what Quiz is about for those who don't know about it, and what we have been done, and what are the plans for the next couple of years, let's say. So that's all. So I will stop sharing, and I don't know if there are questions or we can just jump to something else. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. So there is some of this, the feature we already know, on some others that are new for us. Like,
Yeah.
You're muted.
no, really?
No, I can hear Hiller perfectly well.
I can hear clear too. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you think there is there is still room for improvement with the vector graphics?
Well, we have the dashed lines that you asked for Dr. Gio, and that is currently not part of the plugin, of the VM plugin. That those are done in Smalltalk code,
I
and
was
they
not.
should be part.
Sorry, I was not thinking about this one. With the Dynabook Note Taker, when I'm using large display, I can see a performance difference. So I'm still need to investigate. I'm not sure if it's related to vector graphics or something else. Maybe with the it looks like the mouse events are not following my mouse my pen gesture. The sampling of the mouse position. So but I need to investigate this. So I'm not sure where is the problem
Yeah,
yet.
I think that as we stress the system, we will identify weak points.
Mm.
Okay, essentially, you are doing with Dr. Chio the most complex morphic application done in Quiz, and you are finding the problems that haven't been apparent so far. So yes, we needed to work together. I want to work with you on those and identify what the performance problems are, so we can address them. We cannot have a plan for that because
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
it's a discovery activity we need to do. Yes, I perhaps I should have included that in some of the slides. It's not something that is planned, but it is expected, so
Yeah.
we must allocate
because
time and energy for that.
because with the Dynabook it will be it will be like data geo, I mean, for the performance, but you will have a view. Inside this view, it's like it can be you can have several data geo view. Plus with user interaction with the hand stroke and things like that. So it will be, we can stress even more the system and yeah, we can explore what we can improve.
Yeah, that's right. Your dynamic project stresses the system more than Dr. Geo even. Yeah, we need to work on that. Mark, on the chat, you talk about HTTP. This is something that perhaps I didn't stress enough in this presentation or recently. The Quiz tries to be a small image with optional packages and not a big image with a lot of features built in, like for instance Squeak or Faro. And one of the biggest reasons for that to be done that way is to separate responsibilities and concerns. Okay, so anything that goes in the base image um, so far needs to go through me. A lot of that code I would write, and other code for the base image I will review. But optional packages don't have this bottleneck. So if we need improvements on HTTP servers and clients on the web server package or related technologies, there's no need for central handling of that. I mean, people needing and wanting to work on optional packages, please do and announce your needs and plans on the mail list. Get together with other people wanting to share those projects and make them real. You don't really need me to that. And that is important, because if that is done efficiently, we can get much more done than having everything go through a single bottleneck. So I will be delighted to see people doing new infrastructure, better infrastructure for doing web applications, server clients, whatever. Yeah. I don't know if there is nothing else to say about this. We can move on to something else, whatever people want to talk about.
Yeah, maybe I have some question.
Oh, sure.
Okay. Did you regarding the dynamic library? Did you have any use cases?
Not so far. The reality is that we needed to make a technology demonstration that it was possible to do that as a feasibility analysis for doing end user applications. Okay, so the infrastructure was done, the basic support for bootstrapping images and doing libraries was done to show that it is possible, and it is not a hard limitation on what can be done with Quiz. So far, that hasn't been put to any use yet. And one of the things that I would like to do next year, the most challenging one, is to split the quiz base image into libraries. So the standard way to distribute quiz itself is a small image that loads libraries. That would be putting that to good use. I hope to that to be real in the next year.
Yeah, maybe this is something I want to use in the future with a small quiz kernel. Then just load some library. The idea will be to use several quiz image running at the same time with different virtual machine? Because if I'm still right, the VM only still run on one thread. We are still on this technology, right?
Yes, the VM runs on one thread. The only way we will have in the near future for one image to use more than one thread is through threaded FFI. That is a project that is Elliot is working on the VM. That will allow the Smalltalk not to pause during FFI. So if you have several Smalltalk processes and one of them does FFI, while it waits for the FFI to finish, the other Smalltalk process could run. But in this design of the system and the VM, you cannot have two Smalltalk processes running at the same time. If you have two heavy processing Smalltalk processes, you need to schedule them and they share a single OS thread. As you suggested, one way to make better use of a CPU, if you don't have a heavy processing in FFI called libraries or plugins, is to use several Smalltalk images and make them communicate between them, and that can be done, and it's sometimes useful. Yes.
Another reason to do that is also if you want to run a quiz process with some code you are not sure if it's crash, it will only crash there.
Yes, that's also true. Yeah, there
That,
is room for doing interesting
yeah,
things that that could
about
be
I'm
useful.
thinking about that for the Dynabook because in the note taker the user will be able to run script of um of stuff like Dr. Geo. And
Okay.
so, but you
Well,
can.
what
So the problem is that with this script, the user they can crash the wall image if they did something wrong. I mean, they still can find a way to crash the things even if you try to secure it. So it's better if this kind of user script is run in another quiz image,
I,
communicating with the main image.
I wonder if you are thinking about an image as it was saved by the application developer, or to clone the existing contents of the running image and running that.
No, not
Uh,
cloning. It will run a different quiz image with execute loading some library, then executing some user script.
okay,
So
yeah, that can be.
these things I may not want it to run on the main quiz image. I mean the main the main quiz application where the Dynabook application is running. I want
That
this to
should be
be quite
possible.
safe. Yeah. So that's my idea, and also to use the additional core on the CPU because
That should
otherwise,
be possible
yeah,
today, right?
yeah, I think it should be possible. Yeah, especially with the bootstrapping things you are doing with the quiz image and also the dynamic library loading. Because for example, I will have Dr. Geo implemented like library, then it will be installed on a quiz kernel, then executed in an additional virtual machine.
Yes, I think those two things can work well together, but are actually independent, right? You can have a separate image and run it and communicate with it right now. You don't need the bootstrap and libraries. I agree that with the bootstrap and libraries and a well-structured system, this will be easier and will have higher performance, and it will be safer too. Yes.
Yeah, the idea is not to waste too much memory because you may imagine to have several several process like that running at the same time. So maybe
Okay.
you want a quiz image that is not the big one, but maybe just the one with what is needed.
Yeah,
So
if that forked Cuis-Image can do without true type fonts and without Morphic, then it can be made very small. If it
uh,
needs to have running Morphic and true type
yeah,
fonts, well, those things are the ones that take most memory
okay.
right now.
They will need that anyway because there will be graphic stuff anyway.
Okay, then we need to think together a bit what can be done and what is worth doing there. Because right now, the most of the memory is spent in true type fonts
Okay.
and display buffers. Display memory um, is the most expensive thing in memory in Quiz right now. The rest of the system is pretty small, around, I don't know, maybe 5 or 8 megabytes in size. So I don't know. We will need to see more detail. Of course, this is a place. This and the mail list are the places for anybody to suggest their own list of desired features or stuff to be improved or projects they want to work in and maybe get interested from someone else to help or whatever, right?
Uh, I wanted to show something I was working on, but I didn't get the time to write to the mailing list, so I didn't know if it was appropriate to do it here and now.
Yeah, why not? If
Yeah.
yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
Uh, well, okay. Uh, Let me open. Sure. Well, quiz. Please let me know if you are watching it.
I can see it. I'm
Okay.
making my window bigger because there's a lot of small stuff there.
Yes, I
Okay.
can see it.
Sorry. Okay. Well, no, I started one weekend. I started working in a drag and drop feature to support tiling. Uh, the the goal was never to create some kind of window, some kind of tiling based window manager or something like that. It was just to be able to do what modern operating systems do with Windows, like this. I can drag to the left and to the right and see a placeholder where the window will be. And you can use the corners as well, or the top or the bottom. And what I discovered while doing this was that there were several implementations of some sorts of tiling support in the base image of Quiz, and you uh, could tile or adjust or resize, I don't know how to say it, the windows by using a resize option, which was in this menu. I'm saying that it was because I removed it. So the resize option shown the same grid you are watching here, and here there was another grid that did the same that you can do now by dragging and dropping. It was a 2x2 grid, and it allowed you to snap the active window to that zone in the screen. I don't know if I should maybe share another window, but you can see it by yourself in the quiz you can run right now. The thing is that I thought that having that functionality in the window menu made no sense, because you now can drag and drop the window to one of the corners or side, and it was easier than going to the menu and making the clicks. So but the other functionality, the one which was in the resize menu option, and which is now here, it was useful because you can do things like this. So that was a nice thing to have. The problem was that they were all disconnected implementations. So I tried to merge those implementations into a single one, and I introduced a tile resizer object, which can snap, like you can see here, snap a window to some rectangle into the grid 100. The grid can be configured. So here I'm using one of 4x3, but you could go to preferences, and let me, and there are some, sorry, wait, what's going on? Okay, here. Here there are some settings I added, and you can change this setting, and for example, say 12:6. It's a huge one, but and then you get the grid updated, so you can do things like this. And then you can disable the auto snap on edges, because you can turn this to false. When you drag the window to the edges, nothing happens. So it's easy to get rid of the functionality if you don't like it. I'm watching at you, Juan.
People can have their own preferences.
It's a joke. Okay, the thing is that now this morph is using the same tile resizer that the drag and drop system is using, because the tile resizer handles the gap as well. So if you don't like the gap among the windows, you can also set that up. You can say tiling gap 0, for example, to make it extreme, and you will get that gap in the. So the same happens. Sorry, the same happens. For example, if you do something like that, you will see that
this is super cool.
Okay, thanks. what I try to do is to simplify the tiling system which already existed and to add the drag and drop feature to it, and reduce the duplicated code and improve some parts of the code. So I was going to run a snippet. Let me here. 28. Okay, so for example, here I will create some windows and snap them to all the zones in the grid in the preferences. So here I run the snippet and I get the windows snapped to the grid. Of course, to show if I remove the gap, I will get the windows as I expected. The thing, another thing, the last thing I will mention is that when you drag and drop, you will. I want to clean things here. Okay, when you drag a window, you will see a placeholder. That's a special kind of morph, which will copy the form factor of the window being dragged. So if you don't like cornered windows and you have the old-fashioned windows which were rect, the placeholder will mimic that form factor for, I don't know, because it's
Okay, oh, that's nice.
I don't know. Well, that's what I was working on. So if you like it, you can tell Juan, please add it to the.
It looks cool anyway.
Good.
Yeah.
Nice.
So what's nice is that you use the existing. Yeah, it's compatible with what is existing.
Yeah, that was idea to unify the criteria and to improve the system. Nothing else. I don't consider it a new feature, but an improvement. No.
One question. Do you have? I don't know. It's an open question, not especially to you, Christian. Do we have something that when we open a new window, it can go to empty space? Search for empty space on open there.
No, that is nothing.
There is nothing like that in the image, or
no. The only thing that already exists in the image is the possibility of auto here in Windows, auto tile, open windows, but I haven't touched. There is a work in progress about that because I wanted to make the auto snap, the auto tiling. Work with the tile resizer I implemented. So this should be the last thing to be modified, so it can work with the gap spacing and all the things I mentioned, but nothing like you mentioned. Because I think that sort of things maybe are more, I don't know how to say that, related to a tiling window manager and not this tile support, which is for me some kind of way to organize the windows, but with some flexibility and I don't know, ease. But well, I don't know if I'm being clear. Sorry.
Yeah. So, Gerald, you were writing something about Aver?
Yes,
No.
can you hear me?
Yes, clear.
That's cool. That's cool. I implemented something similar for Haver, and but that's is a much nicer implementation. The only thing I'm better at is the initial window placement. I'm able to place browsers and similar windows which you do want to have bigger in the corners of the screen, or now in certain edges of the screen initially. But concerning other aspects, this implementation is much better than mine. I also didn't modify any of the Cuis widgets. I just tweaked the VM to support additional mouse buttons and use these mouse buttons to place windows in the corners of the Cuis display, which is much faster than moving them around. But on the other hand, it requires a mouse with additional buttons. So I don't know which solution is better, but in a nutshell, many people solved the same problem in different ways.
Yeah.
Yes, one thing that happens when many people have a same problem or similar problem is that there are different solutions to it, and I think this is a good opportunity for unifying that kind of things in a single solution that suits most people.
Yes, and I suppose this solution can nicely be integrated with my solution with these additional mouse buttons, because the placement algorithm is cool, better than mine, and this additional mouse button support can be is more or less independent from Christian's Christian's implementation. So I'm looking forward to the next quiz release to integrate my stuff with perhaps Christian's solution. By the way, Johan, do you have any plans when the next quiz release or next stable release will be ready, finished, whatever?
Well, according to the standard release procedure, it should have been out for a week or something, right? Everything's 6 months. At the end of around June and around December, trying to make it early in December or later in November. So I plan to do a new stable release of Quiz this week or next week. Yeah.
I'm asking because integrating all the changes I made in Haver is a rather tedious task. I started to do this on Sundays because I discovered you are not working on Sundays, so nothing changes with quiz. But in the end, I gave up because I spent nearly half a Sunday in reintegrating the stuff again and again. So that's the reason why I'm asking.
Yes, that must be a time sink. It must take a lot of time, and maybe it makes sense to just use the stable releases. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but I don't know whether there is some interest in the community. I wrote some tools a long time ago which generate check files that check all the methods I modify for proper timestamps. So if you have modified something, which I modified too in Haver, I get an error before importing my packages. I don't know whether this is a useful feature for some people, but I think that's the only part which is a pure quiz module in Haver. That helps a bit, but on the other hand, you still have to understand all the changes and adapt your code, which is very tedious. So I'm looking forward to the next quiz release, and I hope I'll get my stuff integrated in less than a day.
Okay.
Another question: do you know whether there are any plans to get this Open Smalltalk virtual machine really multi-threaded? Are there any near-time plans? I know that there is an implementation that runs FFI calls and primitives in other threads, but um, I have, let's say, a desperate need to use all the cores of my processor because I have a rather resource-hungry scanning application that scans bank account statements, and it takes very long to get this stuff done. If this is not the case, I will really look into implementing some sort of inter-image communication to parallelize stuff. I desperately need this. But I suppose we have to wait for a very long time before this Open Smalltalk virtual machine will support true multi-threading.
Having
The question is there any information leaking from Elliot or from others?
I will not talk for Elliot. It would not be appropriate to do that. But
Yes, okay.
I will say what I think. I think that running a fully multi-threaded Smalltalk system requires a different kind of VM and a different kind of image. So this is something that I don't see happening anytime soon.
I see.
Uh,
I see.
it's
Well,
the
I
same
know
kind
how
of it's the same kind of problem that has been discussed way more times in the Python community. Python has
Oh,
this.
don't mention it. I
Okay,
think it is a discussion for more than 20 years.
yes, exactly. And I don't say that to go into that discussion. I'm saying that just because if you want a good overview of the challenges of that kind of problem, they have been discussing that since forever. And I think that,
Yes, and
Smalltalk and Python are rather similar in that regard.
I think it's simpler in the Open Smalltalk VM because the standard Python implementation has this stupid reference counting, and that complicates things quite a lot.
Okay. Maybe that's something to discuss in the Open Smalltalk mail list. And yeah, I
Yes,
think that would a good place to discuss that kind of things. The alternatives that are available today are inter-image communication, or I don't know what kind of heavy processing you need. If it can be done in a VM plugin, then it's much easier to make that not only higher performance but also multi-threaded.
well, I think I will start some inter-image communication because this will be implemented much faster than any change to the virtual machine. After all, I presume programming in Smalltalk is more productive than programming in some,
Yeah,
how should I say,
what
restricted subset of Smalltalk.
Yeah, what kind of model do you need to run faster? I mean,
Well,
what is?
it's one thing is it runs an OCR application, which is another process, and it's not it isn't a problem such, but I implemented a grammar for these bank account statements and used my early parser. I implemented for something completely different. It has to be an early parser because the grammar is inherently ambiguous. And the problem is it generates a lot of syntax trees. which I have to process, and in the end, I have to choose the right one, the most consistent one. Let's put it that way. And currently, it takes half a minute for, let's say, one bank account statement, and I have several thousands of them.
Yeah, it
So
looks like inter-image communication may be a good approach for that.
yes, and if all else fails, I can buy another PC and use TCP/IP for communication and run it on another
Yeah.
machine.
Yep.
It's just the pathing and the semantic processing that takes the time. The reminder is quite fast.
Yep.
Yes, okay,
I,
thank you.
A long time ago, I worked for an oil and gas simulation system that it was a Smalltalk simulation that, well, it's still there. It is a Smalltalk simulation that takes quite some time to run. And something that people want to do is it's called Monte Carlo analysis. That is to run perhaps 1,000 simulations, taking input from probability distributions to later do statistical analysis on the results. It's a very powerful and useful technique, but it's super expensive. And what we did for that is to use every PC in a big office and install a small server that would listen for requests and would start a Smalltalk image, get the parameters, do the run, and give the results back to the master image. And it was a real improvement, because if you have, I don't know, 100, not a, yeah, 100 people, and you can take a little bit of their PC for a few minutes, then you can have your result 100 times faster, and most people would not even notice. So yes, that's a very sensible approach. When the code you need to
Okay, I
run
see.
is hard to turn into C or primitives or OpenCL or whatever. Yeah.
I will stop the recording if it's okay for you.
So
Yeah.